Hello anyone, my name is Kiwi Camera on this channel that's at the moment not named Kiwi Camera. It might though, I don't know, it depends. I've been debating on actually making a video like this for the past few days, week or so, because I don't know, there's not really much of a point in making it at this point. Everything's finished, I've already been banned. Everything is really just settled down now, and even the message that I wanted to convey won't really be heard by many people. Heck, this video might not just be heard by anyone, and that's why I state hello anyone, because I don't know if anyone's even going to watch this. But nonetheless, I'm making this because I kind of just want to put this maybe to rest, sort of, yeah. This is like one of the two things, or one of the last three things that I want to do. So allow me to just read out something I posted on the official subreddit of Hypixel. And I'm taking this is a full-on retake of a different recording because I put too much emphasis on it and I thought it was kind of cringy. So I'm just going to do over again, except more straight-toned. Alright, let's begin. Firstly, I'll start by saying, Hypixel, screw you, and to a decent amount of Hypixel players who seemingly didn't like me, screw you too. Quote, you are either innocent or guilty, paraphrase, unquote, by Hypixel. The people who act like they made a fair system, but it's always been guilty until proven innocent. I sent all the evidence I could in the appeal to avoid getting banned. And yet, I was still banned. I don't know what Hypixel wants from me anymore. I even bought 2 terabytes of external storage to record and archive, just so I could give what I believe to be solid evidence. All for nothing, of course. Still good storage though, so I don't regret the purchase, honestly. Anyhow, if you have seen me within this range of time of the recordings in Skywars, it's likely that you are featured in my archive. Anyhow, if I make any further posts containing gameplay in the Hypixel subreddit, it'll be before the moment I had gotten banned. But I suppose I'll be seeing Skywars in 2026. Above was a close copy to my original post. Now, since I'm posting outside, I will continue a little further. First, notice how they banned me for 360 days. They jumped past the 90-day ban. This was my second ban ever. Secondly, the people who have reviewed my appeal never watched my video evidences. Not once. I can see that they have no views still, and even if they were to use incognito, I'd still see the video show up in the analytics tab of YouTube Studio. It'd show up as 0 views, but not one of those videos showed up. They never watched any of them. Thirdly, if my Minecraft account was hacked, I would know. Because if they hacked my Minecraft account, which would mean they hacked my Microsoft account, they would have hacked more and I would have been made aware. Branching off of thirdly, if the hacker hacked, it would have been caught by Watchdog. Then they would be banned, so that would mean that I would, when I log in, I'd be automatically met with the ban, but that didn't happen. And 2, let's say someone reported the hacker. The likewise would have happened. There'd be a high chance that I would have been banned before I logged in. If any hacks were to be used, it'd be assumed that Watchdog Anti-Cheat would have caught it and my account would have been banned before I logged in. Watchdog wasn't in the ban reason. I now have found out, well, not now, but like weeks ago, that apparently they got rid of this whole Watchdog message, so it's ambiguous, but I still believe that it probably wasn't from Watchdog. But the biggest thing to notice was that I was banned mid-game, which implies that it was something reported and manual. I don't know if it was malicious or truly from moral perspective, but either way, I believe I was reported. I truly believe that Hypixel wanted me gone. 360 days, max limit of ban. They didn't look at the videos. The appeal was denied somewhere within 5 hours. I submitted my appeal at somewhere in 10 p.m. and they denied at somewhere in 2 a.m. So this appeal was basically an illusion of an appeal, because I believe they already made up their minds. One last thing. The official subreddit censored me. They deleted not just this post, but a post featuring the video, the moment I was banned as a video. They were fine with the video before, but when this post was made, they took it down. And when I posted on this deleted post, this one, with "they censored me" with an ellipses, they then locked the post. Soon after, they locked the other post too, albeit I didn't plan on commenting there. So there's that one. And then I have a part 2 that kind of just answers a question that was asked to me. So let me just... Do you know why I posted this? It's a criticism to the player base and the appeal system. So often I find many to think it's fair, but they aren't ever in the boat that I was in. I sent videos, they didn't watch them, they didn't care. And they decided to skip past a 3-month ban and decided a year would be good for me. Even when I did nothing wrong, I had been thrown into a silly ditch of immaturity, dealing with a hellscape of absolute losers. What could I have possibly done to deserve this crap? So I wanted to display the events leading up to and around it, to show my desperation to play by the rules of a disgusting system that so many players find fair. Quote, "You got banned? Odd, just appeal." Unquote. I wish that'd mean that their decision would be reverted, but that's not what they do. Not to mention, trying to post this here, despite how harmless it is, the mods seemingly dislike this post. It doesn't target anyone, just the appeal system. It shows no names, and it follows whatever etc. rule, but they still take it down. Watch as they take this one down too. So what was the point? Before I move on from this event that was so distressing and annoying to deal with, I wanted to create further awareness of the fact that this system isn't fair. Stop acting like it's a perfect system. That's my thesis. No, I will not reply because apparently the mods believe it to be discussion. Now with that being said, reading all that out, that's all I had to say on the subreddit, and they also deleted that post too. I don't exactly have much to say because my feelings have mainly subsided at this point. It doesn't really matter, Heck, they convinced me basically by this heinous, annoying stuff of deleting my posts, convinced me to do a healthy option of just deleting Reddit, which was great for me. It's been like a month apparently since I deleted Reddit. Only reason I know that is because I look at the screenshots and I noticed how far back whenever I made that post was, and inevitably just left. But the thing is that I want to convey is that often I would find a lot of people online where they go by this phenomenon in which typically it's not seen to be an unban or a false ban. Typically people see a lot of these bans and they'll roll their eyes whenever the person says this is a false ban. A lot of them even kind of ridicule the person saying no reason on the post, because the person says, oh, I was banned for no reason. And so, the other person says that, and it's like, come on, man. The only thing you're saying this is because you're not in their shoes. If you were in their shoes, how would you feel? Completely unheard. It's a really unfair system. They didn't even look at my videos. I don't even know why they banned me. I went through all the different options, Mods, I used just optimization for FPS mods for it was lithium and sodium. They weren't on the list of modifications, but reading through the rules, you'll actually find that apparently that doesn't mean anything. Even Optifine is said to be something that, just because it's on the list, doesn't mean that it's actually endorsed and is fully allowed. It can still get you banned, and honestly, this is where I'm going to go off and say, or not go off, but I'm just going to say, yeah, it's probably the same amount of chances of just getting banned from lithium and sodium. Heck, there was a person that I saw online where they simply replied to a post saying, no, they will not get you banned. So it can't be the modifications, because even if I did get banned from the modifications, it must have been from some sort of trigger that happened from one of these mods that caused maybe some sort of thing in the system. But that would still be a false ban. You know, whenever they say you're at risk for a ban, it's left vague, not on purpose, but I can interpret as, you know, bans can mean two things, either a false ban or a justified ban. And if I were banned by a mod that had nothing to do with giving me an advantage, and I followed all the rules, and it followed all the rules, except maybe accidentally triggered something in the system to ban me, well, that's not my fault, is it? I mean, yes, it clearly states in the rules that I'm at risk for a ban, but it says nothing about a justified ban. It just simply says the word ban. So I can interpret that in my way, which is the idea that I shouldn't have been banned then. So it wasn't mods. Resource pack? I consulted the modifications rules and read them for what resource packs can be, and made sure that before I even started making Kiwi Bow, the resource pack, Kiwi Bow, or any resource pack in the future, I consulted this guide to ensure that I wouldn't be breaking any rules, to also make sure that anyone who uses this resource pack wouldn't get banned either. So it's not the resource pack. And I highly doubt they even knew about the resource pack before my ban. Anyway, so I even had my video of my ban, but apparently upon looking online, it says that they can't exactly trust video bans either, or these videos up until you're banned, because apparently there can be ways of hiding your cheating. And I'm like, so then what's the point then? Why do I even submit anything? None of these things work, so what's even the point of appealing? If I can appeal for this option, but it has like basically 100% chance of getting denied, what's even the point of giving me this option? It is literally the illusion of appeal. You can't appeal. That's just how it works. They didn't even look at my video. That's what's worse. It's the fact how they didn't even look at my videos. The only views that I got from the videos were after my appeal was denied. I kept track. You know? They didn't look at it. So that's just awesome, you know? And that's why, you know, I look at all these things and I'm thinking, yeah, what did I get banned for? Because I can't think of a single reason. I was using a vanilla launcher of Minecraft. I was using Fabric API, which is, you know, what you need to use lithium and sodium, or at least I don't want to download Forge, whatever it's called, because I don't know. I was just trying to optimize the best I can, and I personally use the Minecraft launcher that's given by Mojang. So I don't know. I guess the client would be Fabric. I don't know what clients are. But yeah. So that's kind of the end of the discussion of all this. You know, I emailed some of the mods, or not mods. I emailed some of the support team. They don't have anything to do with the bans, by the way. They don't even know what they're doing in that regard. And heck, one of the official staff members of Hypixel came from this email. You know, there's an email where I just sent the video saying, hey, can you at least watch my video? Because no one has watched this video. So it would be nice to know that at least one of you guys do that. Then they replied with, you know, as a response to whatever that one was, they did say, well, if you're using any modifications, you're at risk for a ban. And I was thinking, I am not about to take blame for using modifications, because it was just an optimization. And They were saying if it's not listed, then you're at risk for a ban. That's what everyone says. But then I look at the rules, and heck, even this support team member of Hypixel didn't even look at the rules. They sent me the link. I looked at the link. I looked at the entire rules. And as I said before, apparently, no, anything that's listed is just listed solely as an example. Example because they are just the most popular thing, the most well-known thing. It has nothing to do with the fact that they are endorsed, because they're not endorsed by Hypixel. It just so happens to be the most popular thing, so they give it as an example of what would be allowed on Hypixel. They say that technically nothing is allowed for modifications on Hypixel, and you are at complete risk with any of the mods listed, or any mods in general, but, everything listed is something that theoretically would be allowed based around their criteria of what would be allowed. So it's more of like, take it with a grain of salt that we're listing these things, because these are just examples, and anything that you use that are alongside it, such as, we have Optifine, but then you also have sodium and lithium. They're all equal status on the edge of what they do. They're both theoretically allowed. The only difference is Optifine is actually listed. That would lead to a lot of people thinking that Optifine is endorsed and is thoroughly allowed, but they do make a stance saying no, it's not. It's just given as an example rather than it actually implying that it's fully allowed. And that's because there are multiple different versions and they can't check every single version. So you are still at a risk of ban. And that can be interpreted as you are still at risk of any of these modifications equally so. So I am not going to take blame for using modifications to optimize my FPS, because I play on a laptop, by the way. So I'm trying to get the best performance I can out of this system. So that's what I did. So the last thing I wanted to talk about was just the player base, because the experience wasn't great. Majority of the people were chill, but, there was just such a loud, annoying, obnoxious part of Hypixel Skywars players that it just kind of really wanted to make it known that they don't like you. Or at least they didn't like me. Because, it was just really exhausting to hear it all the time. I didn't care what they were saying. It was just a matter of the fact how they just kept saying it so frequently. And, here's some examples. I remember before my first ban, there was a time where someone, before the game began, actually just straight up said, hey, can we all just report Kiwi Camera so we can just kick him out? Of course they didn't do that. Or hopefully they didn't. I don't know. Maybe they did. I don't know. But, nonetheless, the fact how someone said that, it's not fun. There was also the case where, before my first ban, there was a lot of crap that just happened before my first ban, so unfortunately I don't have a lot to show for it. But there was also this case where, what was this? Yeah, there was this time where there's only 3 players left, and that included me. 2 of them were in the middle fighting, but then whenever I came up, shot one of them with the arrow, they both came to a stop and literally just said, hey, to the other guy. He just said, hey, to the other guy, and just straight up prompted, can you go kill Kiwi Camera? I'm just so tired of this. And I was like, wow. Ended up just throwing myself into the void because I didn't want to deal with it, and they replied with lol. Whatever, doesn't matter. The point is, though, it's just so annoying to have this happen so frequently. And there was even a time, once again, before the first ban, there was someone who waited till the last moment of the game to confront me I was still not on my island, but they just, I kind of just waited around because clearly something was going on. They were trying to tell me something, and they waited till the last moment of the game to straight up say that I was just kind of annoying everyone, And once again, I don't care what these people are saying. It's just a matter of just constantly dealing with these people, man. I was exclaiming, well, if you're using that kit out of all the other kits, there's no problem because it's your choice, And what they had to reply to me was, oh, but here's the problem. You're using that kit. And, that's just, I'm like, well, the kit's there. What am I supposed to do? Not choose it? What? It's my personal choice. I want to choose the kit. I want to play the game this way. What's the issue? Well, that's the issue. I'm playing the game my way. People hate that because everyone plays melee, or a majority of people play melee, and I mainly use the bow. So, yeah, there was a person in there who actually said, "Stop fighting," and I respect you. I respect that person for attempting to kind of mitigate. Is that the right word? To get in the way to stop things. That's very cool of them. I appreciate that person. I don't know who it was. I only remember one word of it, of their username, or at least I think I remember. But anyway. And yeah, and then also, just to finish off before my first ban, there was this one player, they're kind of odd, because they called me the bow spam god. I've had at least one other person call me bow spam god or something, but I'm like really confused what I was supposed to. I don't know if I was supposed to feel negative or happy. I don't know what I was supposed to feel from that. Is that an insult? Is it a compliment? Because it is tied to bow spam, and that's not what. And if you use the bow in any remark to any amount, you're automatically called a bow spammer rather than just archer or bow user. They don't even just use it correctly. It's like me calling melee users sword spammer. It's kind of silly and ridiculous whenever there's so much more nuance to it. And I'm just relegating it to one simple term. But, they... it was an odd trend. And then there was this one time that I knocked them into the void, and seemingly they were pretty upset because they were prompting me to leave into the lobby, accept the party invite. So I did. We got into the lobby, and they automatically started saying, why do you even do that? Why do you just like doing what you're doing with the bow? Why do you use bow? Something along the lines of just prompting, why do I do this? And I simply just replied, because I like using the bow. Other people in the lobby were confused, saying, oh, what did they do? What did they do? And I was like, yeah. So then they went to a Skywars duels, and so I was competing against them. I obviously knew, because this was before the first ban. Whenever I came back, I decided I wanted to get better at the game. But, before the first ban, I mainly was just using the bow a lot. And I didn't really make too much of an attempt to get better at the sword. I was starting to, but not enough. I clearly knew I was going to lose to them. And I lost 2 times to them, and at the end, apparently that was, I don't know, but they stopped there because they said, haha, and then they left. This one I do have a picture for. So I'll just put a picture there. Anyway, so I got banned. I don't know how much after that point. Came back to the game. And, everything felt very unwelcoming because I was like, man, someone probably reported me. And I was unjustly banned. And, yeah. I was gone for a month. maybe not too much, but I enjoyed playing on the server. So a month, was quite a bit. It was like a hobby. I even used it to test out my resource packs that I was making. But I came back, and over time I eased back into mood of good. But for the time being, at the beginning, I just felt flipping miserable playing it because I was like, man, no, it just felt like no one here liked me, which is just not the problem. The problem was the fact how I got banned because of that. I didn't even do anything wrong, just playing the game however I wanted, but seemingly that was enough. Is that because people just like you enough, you get banned. But anyway, there was this other occasion. I decided I wanted to get better at using swords because, I was having a little bit of fun doing that. And not only that, but I found like more nuance to it. And thirdly, I guess, is because I wanted people to stop complaining about me using the bow all the time. And it did. It did soften the amount of times it happened. It was less frequent. But it did happen still. But it was less frequent because I started to use the sword a lot more. And I don't regret learning how to use the sword more. It was a good choice because it was very fun. It was a fun experience to become better. Heck, there was even some people who were, I think there were like at least one person or two. One or two. But there was at least this one guy who actually asked me, how can you teach me how to PvP? Because I actually got to that point where I was actually pretty decent. And I was like, whoa, that's crazy. I've gotten to this point where someone has asked me how to PvP. Which obviously meant like the sword and rod. I'm like, dang, I got to this point. That's pretty cool. It felt like really good to get to that point. But anyway, so now we're going to this whole segment of before the second ban, because I'm currently still banned. This is the second ban. But, one of the things that I do have video footage for, I don't know if I'm going to put it up because I have to go through the archive to find it. But if I do, that'd be nice. And the footage is me playing Skywars, as per typical, because that's what I was mainly recording. And what was happening is, it was just me and this other guy left. And he decides to tower up and hide inside of this little, I guess kind of like a cubby hole of, or just this whole area of, I think it's a paintbrush, if I'm not mistaken. It's the map with the paints and the paintbrushes, and well, I don't know if there's paintbrushes, but there is definitely paint and paint buckets. So he got on one of those paint buckets that you have to tower up to. And he closed himself off, barricading himself fully. And simply said, stop bow spamming. I was like, really? You're going to do this crap? You're going to stop the entire rest of the game. It was just me and you. And you're going to stop the entire game just because of this, man? So I decided to just simply throw myself into the void. Give him the free win because, I don't know, this guy clearly wasn't going to stop doing whatever he was going to do. So I just threw myself into the void because it's not worth it. It's not worth it. And yeah, that's a great example of what I'm talking about. This crap that I had to deal with by so many people. I mean, heck, going back to that person who dueled me, why'd you even do it, I mean, I'm sure that maybe they probably knew that I was going to lose. They probably were pretty confident that they were going to win. So I just don't understand why they even did it in the first place, besides an ego boost. So they were just ego boosting themselves. Because I literally was thinking in my head, I'm going to lose. Yeah, I can't really do much. I'm just going to lose. What are you doing this for? And I did. I lost. Anyway. So all this stuff is kind of just annoying. Oh, and there was even this other time. This was actually pretty close to whenever I was banned, so this one would be easier to find. But there was this time where seemingly got on this person's nerves because they kept inviting me to a party, and then they would immediately stop the party and exit. Well, first they'll take me out of the game into the lobby area, and then quit the party, and then jump back into a Skywars game. Now, I don't know exactly if that does anything or led to my ban, but nonetheless, he did this, and that was pretty odd. But pretty petty, you know? It's very petty. Immediately went back into Skywars. But, you know, that's what I did, you know? So, my experience with this community hasn't really been that good, you know? And that's why the big point that I wanted to prove with all of this, and here it is, you know? One thing is that if I didn't do anything wrong, and I didn't, all right, I don't care what you think. I know, all right? And what I'm saying is I shouldn't have to pay for another account to play on a server that, two things, doesn't even care about me, that people seemingly hate me there, and two, I was falsely banned. So why should I have to make another account? I mean, heck, anybody could say whatever they want, but the funniest thing is the fact how I know that they didn't even look at the videos. They didn't even care to look at the videos. I still have the evidence, the proof, even proof right now. One of these videos, I'm pretty sure, is still not viewed. I sent 3 videos. They viewed none of them. And I'm pretty sure that only one other of the videos were seen, only after I was denied, by the way, was because I posted on the subreddit and someone saw the link, because I didn't post the links, but someone did see the links that I submitted, and they typed it in, which, now thinking about that does take quite a bit of effort, and they saw the video. I don't know. They didn't see too much of it, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe 30 seconds, 14 seconds, maybe 2 seconds, somewhere in between. Somewhere in the number up to 30 seconds or 48 seconds. I don't recall exactly. But I will have to say, I'm very thankful towards the support team, or specifically one person who was the most responsive, seemingly. Or maybe the other ones would have been more responsive. But I don't know. This one person, I have to give credit to them. You know? I respect them a lot for actually taking the time to respond to my emails. And not only that, but even taking the time to watch the video. They don't have anything to do with the appeal system. They literally have nothing to do with the appeal system. They don't even know what they are supposed to do with the appeal system. They don't know the rules. They don't even know what to do. They can't actually consult and help you with this process. They literally have nothing to do with it. And yet, this one, they took the time to watch my video. A pretty decent amount of it too, by the way. I was surprised how much they watched. I was honestly thinking they probably aren't going to watch it, but then they did. And they watched a decent amount of it. It was a 7-minute video, 7-minute and 8-second video, I think. And they watched, I think, around 4 minutes of it, which is close to half, you know? That's awesome. The fact how someone actually took the time to watch this video that is a part of the official staff members. I'm happy about that. That I can be happy about. Anyway, that's kind of everything I have to say. I don't really have much else to say. That's it. That's all I have to say. So, if you've been watching up until this point, thank you very much for watching. And secondly, you know, I don't really think there's much of a point. Originally, the reason why I posted on the subreddit was because I wanted to make awareness. It was an awareness post, not a discussion post. I wanted the greater amount of the player base to realize that they can't be acting like every single person they see has definitely cheated. There are occasionally some cases where people have not done anything wrong. And I just so happen to believe, or I just so happen to be that anomaly. The anomaly in which I'm that small percentage of people who I genuinely believe, I am very firm on this, I didn't cheat in any way. I went out my every effort to ensure that I was doing things right, you know? But, playing by the system is not fair. There's nothing fair about this system. And that's just the big message that I wanted to convey, is the fact how if you were banned for quote-unquote cheating from advantages, you're not getting unbanned. Unless you're popular, apparently, or connections, you're not going to get unbanned. So sit tight, have fun, and according to the unsaid rules, do not use the bow like I did, which is firmly having fun with the way that I have as a playstyle, using the bow. And yeah, so I don't know, take it at your own risk to use the bow and have fun with it truly, because playing the way I did, it really was the main thing I was using. That was the main thing I was using. And I think it got me banned. It was an unspoken rule, apparently. Do not annoy the players, because likely chance you're just going to get banned for it. At least that's my impression, because I did. And I didn't even do anything wrong. And I tried my best to prove everything. At first, whenever I was first banned, I thought it was just a simple mistake. And then they denied the appeal. I sent everything I could at the moment. I didn't have any recording because I didn't know that I was just going to get randomly banned out of nowhere. And I was paranoid that it was going to happen again. So I bought 2 terabytes of storage for that to make an archive and record every single moment that I played Skywars specifically. Because I'm pretty sure that's where it came from. This whole ban is people from Hypixel Skywars. I don't know why I specified Hypixel. Skywars players. I'm pretty sure they're the ones who just reported me and got me banned. For whatever reason. So, yeah. Anyway. So, I might make a tutorial of how to use the bow even better, because I think truly there's some untapped potential that a lot of people aren't realizing, because so many people are hooked on to the melee mindset that they haven't really explored anything with the bow. So I feel like it'd be nice to explore that with the thoroughness that I have learned over the years. Not some sort of pro or anything. I'm just some guy who likes using the bow a lot. And I still love using the bow, and I'll continue to use the bow. So, I don't know, in 2026, when I come back to Hypixel, I'm probably going to get banned again in like a month for another year, But, that's just how it is. Apparently my sole existence is now to be banned from Hypixel for potentially the rest of my life. Unless I were to just stop using the bow, which I won't, because I love using the bow. It's not against the rules to use something that is fun. I'm having fun. Heck, if they didn't want you to have fun at all, then they wouldn't even have the whole cannon kit with the TNT. Yeah, they wouldn't have that. chances are they also would have fully gotten rid of the bow kit. But they also just don't like fun in any other way than melee, because seemingly they nerfed bow using in that latest update. Oh yeah. Outro. Thank you very much for watching. I said the outro a while ago, but, you know, now I am going to conclude it because, yeah. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Kiwi Camera. This channel is not exactly called Kiwi Camera at the moment. Maybe it will be, maybe it won't be. I don't know. But nonetheless, I kind of just wanted to post this here to leave my mark and my impressions of what I have dealt with. This stuff with Hypixel, it's just all not fun. Yeah. And, yeah. Yeah. See ya.